welcome to today's video, which is kind of a different video. And that is just a theory I have about Harristan from the Defy the Night series. Now, we're not given a whole lot on him and his illness, but we are given something. And so I've spent the time of looking at his symptoms. And just to preface this, I'm in no way a medical professional. I would not, like, you would need to be diagnosed. Uh, but we don't have that luxury with the book. So this is just what I think he has. I'm no medical professional. I cannot say that this is for sure what he has, but this is what I think. And it's also based on my own experiences with the ailment. Now, we're going to start off the video by exactly saying what I think he has, and that is asthma. Now, some people will be like, oh, but you're just relating it to your own illness. Like, maybe that could be happening. Psychologically, that could be happening. But a lot of, I didn't even think he had I didn't even know what he had in the during Defy the Night. I didn't know any of it. I've done so much research into asthma since I was diagnosed about almost a year ago now. And like I've done research. I know a lot about it. And the thing is, I didn't even connect it until we got to read his point of view from in Defend the Dawn. Because oh boy. Oh boy. So it was during his little escape with from Arella from Consul Cherry. Well, it was during his little escape from all the guards that it really clicked in for me that he had asthma because it just made sense. And just before that, he had he had a sudden just cough, chest tightness. Felt like I remember that there was a point where he said it felt like he couldn't breathe. And let me just say, all of those are symptoms of asthma. I actually experience those quite often. And it's not a curable disease. It's not even a disease. It's not a curable ailment. It can be managed with medications of which of which I have ample access to, but in Defy the Night and Defend the Dawn, it doesn't seem like there's much access to it. Even for Harristan, who's king of Kandala, he just doesn't have the same access to like inhaled steroids that I do because the technology just isn't there. If that makes sense. So this is the basis of my theory. Harrison has asthma, and it's mostly because I see the symptoms, and it's very close, if not exactly what I experience as an asthmatic when I'm not on my meds. And so now let's get into uh, a few things that I think support this. And that and the first thing I'm going to say is to the argument of, oh, but he was really sick all the time. Like he had a fever as a child and he was just bedridden for so long. And it's like, he probably just had a common sickness, and it's just that when an asthmatic gets sick, it can stick for longer. Hence why when COVID first struck there, asthmatics were uh, very high risk because if they got sick, it hit them hard. He probably just got a respiratory infection, and so he had to like sweat it out. He had to get through it, and it would have caused issues with asthma because essentially what asthma is, if I remember my research properly, is it's excess mucus that's built up in the lungs, and so the it closes the pathway, like narrows it down for how much oxygen you can actually get into your lungs, and so that's why you suddenly get this tightness in your chest. You're not getting enough air in your lungs, and so not enough oxygen is getting into the bloodstream, getting into your brain. And so when you're sick, that mucus, that excess mucus, kind of doubles, and then it's an even tinier airway, and that can cause a lot of problems, which makes sense for why Harrison was always sick and why his parents were so very careful with letting him do anything with that had excess exercise. Like, sure, he knows how to fight still, and you can totally do that, but and you can totally do exercise with asthma. Unmedicated is a bit harder. But he had access to all of these healers, all of these apothecaries, like doctors. He had access to these people who could help him so that he could train. Granted, his training was much less than what Korik had, which kind of also supports the method, the theory, because his was less severe. He didn't have to exert himself so much that his lungs had too much issue keeping up. They obviously still had issue, and it might have taken him longer to catch his breath, but it was fine as long as he was in a perfectly healthy state. If he was not in a perfectly healthy state, there was just no chance. now he now the thing is, Cork and Tessa, they're both very concerned with his clearing of his throat or cough that he keeps doing. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I have a chronic cough now that I have asthma. I do, and I also chronically clear my throat because of it. And in today's society, people are like, oh, you're coughing, you're sick. No. What's happening is your body is having a reaction to that excess mucus in your lungs. It's trying to clear it out. It's trying to open up that airway. So coughing kind of gets it out of there a little bit, clears up enough so you can breathe. I think I'm explaining this correctly. Not quite sure. But yeah, like oftentimes when I'm at work, I will just clear my throat to disguise a little cough my little cough, because customers will look at you weird now. People will look at you weird because they're like, "Oh, you're sick." It's like, "No. I'm not sick. I have asthma." But yeah, so a lot of what's going on here is something that makes sense for an asthmatic coming from an asthmatic. It it truly does make sense. And I'm gonna be honest. when we were reading from his perspective, and and he mentioned uh the chest tightness and stuff when he was literally running from the guards. It it I'm gonna be honest. I literally I dropped the book and was like, he has asthma. It was a sudden realization, probably because I've now lived with this problem. I didn't know much about asthma before, but I've had to do research on it because I'm a paranoid sort of person who needs to do research on all of these things because that's how I work. His symptoms, the things we see from him, they all point towards asthma. I don't know other illnesses, obviously. Not a medical professional. Don't quote me on any of this. But and it could be other things, I'm sure. But this makes the most sense from the perspective that I have. But a lot of things do point to it. Uh, and it's just because he is an otherwise healthy individual, despite Candela being poisoned. Um, but he is an otherwise healthy individual that just has what appears to be chronic cough with clearing of the throat, which obviously helps with helps with getting all that mucus out of the way. Uh, Trouble breathing, chest tightness. I believe he does wheeze a few times, which yeah. Um, and those are the main symptoms of asthma, so could be that. I don't actually know. I don't know anything. Trust me, I'm only doing this because I feel like no one's talked about what his illness could be. And the fun thing about fantasy is they won't explicitly tell you what someone's illness is, so you gotta theorize about it. Hope you're right. But in my mind, this is what he has. He has asthma. He has what maybe could be a pretty severe uh, form of asthma because I'm sure that all the tea he drinks is helping. And like something else that helps him is tea. Unless he's drinking herbal tea, it's got caffeine. And here's a little information for you. Caffeine helps asthma. It's very minor help. It's not gonna like stop an attack. But if you don't have an inhaler, it's a lifesaver. I work at a coffee shop. I have used it so many times because I'm a forgetful person who doesn't take their meds when they're supposed to, and then also somehow forgets the rescue inhaler that's supposed to fix that and reverse that issue. So I just happen to have the experience of knowing caffeine helps. It's because it is chemically related to a common broncholator, and so, or in other words, like rescue inhaler. So it works. And whenever he does drink tea, he seems to improve just slightly, and that's all caffeine will do. It will improve you just slightly. Not not stop it outright. It'll just help you. Anyways, that's my theory. That's a theory from me about Harristan from the Defy the Night series. And, some someone sound okay. So I'm gonna give y'all a challenge. Sound off in the comment whether or not you believe this, Let's start a conversation. If you think it's something else, let's hear your argument. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see it because I feel like people aren't talking about this enough. I feel like whenever there is a mysterious illness inside of a book, specifically fantasy and sci fi, like no one discusses what it could be. I mean, in sci fi, they have the technology to figure out if it's something or something else, because it could be something entirely new. But in fantasy, there's usually not that technology to figure out what it is that is wrong. Just because the technology isn't there, medicine is not what it is like for us today. Because usually fantasies are taking from like the medieval era or something like that, and it's just really nice to see. I just want to, and it'd be really nice to just see what other people are thinking on the matter. I would love to know. Anyways, that is it for this video. I thank you for watching. If you want to support me, you can go buy my books. Links are in the description below. And if you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content from me, hit that subscribe button. Ring that notification bell so you get notified when I post a new video. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye bye! Also, I would like you all to know that this video almost didn't come out on the Tuesday that it's going up because I was a fool to leave this to last minute. But Tuesdays are looking like they are gonna work better based off of the schedules I'm seeing coming out. Anyways, yeah, we'll send off.